Let me give you the summary first. Here's what I want to say today. Reading people is not something you're born with. It's a habit. And that habit, you can start it right now. But wait, you've probably heard this before, right? You gotta know how to read people. The people around you decide your future. Cut off the toxic relationships. Yeah, super obvious. For real. But here's the thing. If it's so obvious, why do we keep making the same mistakes? Why do we keep getting pulled toward people who are bad for us? Why do we keep getting stuck? That's what I really want to talk about today. Okay, think about this for a second. What do you think is the most valuable thing that the world's richest people have spent their whole lives building? Not cash, not real estate. The ability to read people. When you heard that, what did you think? Oh yeah, having good connections is super important, right? Nope, that's not it. It's not about making connections. It's about filtering people out. Click. So why do billionaires go to fancy social events on purpose? It's not to make friends, it's to watch. How does this person act when there's food in front of them? Do they sit down carefully, or do they just flop into the chair? Do they slam the door, or close it gently? Do they grab the last piece of food for themselves, or offer it to someone else? You know what all of this is? It's their true self coming out. When people feel nervous or comfortable, they can't help it. Their real personality shows. 100%, every single time. Wait, so does that mean I just need to have good manners at social events? Is that all it takes? No, because manners can be practiced. But that's not what these people are actually looking at. It's your eyes, your expression, the wrinkles on your face that tell the story of your whole life. Have you ever heard that a person's face tells you 70% of who they are? Honestly, when I first heard that, I thought it sounded a little crazy. But think about it. This isn't some kind of magic or superstition. It's science. Seriously. Someone who keeps going through hard times can't help but look tense and tired, and when that look stays on your face long enough, it turns into wrinkles. On the flip side, people who smile a lot get smile lines. Can you think of anyone who looks sharp and energetic when they're really sick? No way. Their eyes go soft. They look drained. This is just your daily habits showing up on your face. Your day-to-day is literally being written on your face. Every day, every moment, little by little. But here's the important part. It's okay if you don't have a great face. That's not the main point. The real point is this. Can this person clearly explain why they do what they do? What's their purpose? What's their goal? Are they just going with their gut? Or do they actually have their own way of thinking things through? You have to be able to see their intention. Okay, now let's talk about something a little scary. Toxic people. But wait, before I get into that, let me be honest about something first. I have been in a toxic relationship before. Even when I kind of knew something was off. Something felt weird, but I kept texting them anyway. I kept going along with whatever they wanted. I kept thinking, why am I doing this? But I stayed anyway. It wasn't because I was a bad person. I just didn't know any better back then. And if you've been there too, that doesn't make you a bad person either. You just didn't know. And that's okay. You know what a poisonous mushroom is, right? Do you know why poisonous mushrooms are dangerous? Not just because they're poisonous, but because they look really pretty. Toxic people are exactly the same way. They're great talkers. They're charming. They take care of how they look. And honestly, they can be really attractive. At first, anyway. When you first meet them, you think, wow, this person seems really cool. But that's exactly where the trap starts. And on top of that, there's this weird feeling we get sometimes. I'm the only one who can save this person. That feeling. Like, yeah, they're a little rough around the edges, but I can change them. Nobody else can help them the way I can. Sound familiar? Psychologists call this something like a savior complex. But honestly, when you break it down, it's pretty simple. You get addicted to feeling needed. Even when that relationship is slowly hurting you, the feeling of being needed feels good. That's the real reason toxic relationships are so hard to escape, because it doesn't feel toxic. It feels sweet. And that's what makes it so dangerous. So how do you figure out if someone is toxic? There's actually a method that psychiatrists use. It's called the small boundary test. It's really simple. You set one small rule with the other person. For example, you say something like, "Hey, I can't really pick up the phone after 10 o'clock at night." That's it. Just that one sentence. Two things can happen after that. If someone genuinely cares about you, they'll say, "Oh, okay, got it. Done. No big deal." That's the totally normal reaction. But a toxic person reacts differently. They'll call you at 9:59 p.m., and even when it's past 10, they won't hang up. Then they'll say something like, "Wow, you're so sensitive. Why does it have to be exactly 10? Do you see what's happening there? They're treating your boundary like it's an attack. You drew a line, and they saw it as a challenge to the whole relationship. And then, quietly, they start making you look like the weird one. That's called gaslighting. It seems really small at first, but when it keeps happening, one day you start asking yourself, "Am I being too sensitive?" That's how it takes over. Slowly. Very slowly. The second method is to point out a small mistake they made. Do it nicely, in a helpful way, just once. Something like, "Hey, I think that part was a little out of line." Two reactions again. Someone with confidence in themselves will accept it. "Oh, you're right. I'll be more careful about that." That's it. But a toxic person reacts in 3 steps. First, they deny it. "When did I ever do that?" Second, they attack back. "Well, what about what you did before?" Third, and this is the worst one, "If you knew so much, you should have said something sooner." The moment they say that, they're turning you into the bad guy. You tried to help them, and now somehow you're the problem. In other words, it's wild, but suddenly it's all your fault. These people aren't bad because they're evil. They act this way because they have low self-esteem. Admitting a mistake feels like their whole world will fall apart. But that's not your problem to fix. So what do you do when you run into someone like this? There's a technique in psychiatry called the gray rock method. Gray. Not black, not white, just in between. Rock. Just a plain rock with nothing on it. No feelings, no personality, just a rock. Put them together, and what do you get? You stop giving emotional reactions. Toxic people, especially narcissists, what do they feed on? They feed on your reactions. If you get angry, they love it. If you cry, they love it even more. If you argue back, they absolutely love it. Your emotional reaction is literally their food. But what if you just say, "Oh, okay," with zero emotion? They're basically shadowboxing by themselves until they get tired and walk away on their own. They'll leave. For real. You know that meme that goes around on the internet? "How do I stay happy? I don't argue with fools." But you're wrong. Yeah, you're right. And that's the end of it. That's literally the perfect example of the gray rock method. You save your energy for the things that actually matter. Okay, but what do you do with all those leftover feelings? You know that moment, lying in bed at night, replaying what someone said to you? Ugh, I should have said this. Why did I just stay quiet? Yeah, that one. Let me give you a historical example. You know Marcus Aurelius? He was a Roman emperor, one of the greatest leaders in all of history. But here's the thing. Even as emperor, he wrote in a journal every single night. That journal is what we now call meditations. And what's inside that journal? Complaints, worries, self-doubt. I wasn't good enough today. Why am I like this? The most powerful man in the Roman Empire wrote stuff like that in his private journal. But in real life, he ran an empire, dealt with his enemies calmly, and led armies into battle. His journal was his emotional trash can. He dumped all his feelings there and then showed up to real life with a clear head. So, what does this tell us? It's not about bottling up your feelings. It's about putting them into words. Write it down. Tell a close friend. The moment you give your feelings a name and let them out, they lose their power over you. And yes, psychologists have actually proven this. There's a saying in Buddhism, the first arrow is okay, but don't let yourself get hit by the second arrow. The first arrow comes from the outside. You can't stop it. The second arrow is you, replaying it all night, flipping it over and over, stabbing yourself with it again. You're hurting yourself. Come on. This is exactly why successful people shake off emotional baggage so well. The moment your feelings take over, you lose your ability to think straight. When you lose your ability to think straight, you lose your dignity. When you lose your dignity, it gets written on your face. It's not about never feeling anything. It's about keeping a healthy distance from your feelings. A beautiful distance. Just far enough that your emotions don't eat you alive. So, on the flip side, what kind of person do successful people keep close to them forever? Someone who doesn't talk much. Someone who can keep a secret. Someone who doesn't gossip. And most importantly, someone who is consistent. Why does consistency matter so much? Because it means you're predictable. And a predictable person is a trustworthy person. Someone who acts one way today and a completely different way tomorrow. Someone who's super nice when they're in a good mood and completely impossible when they're not. How can you ever feel comfortable around a person like that? You're always watching for signs, always being careful. You've experienced this at school or work, right? Having to check someone's mood before you even say good morning? That takes so much energy. Seriously, like 100 times, 1,000 times more energy than it should. And one more thing. Watch whether they give back to others. This isn't about whether rich people donate money. It's about this. Someone who can be kind to a total stranger will also be kind to the people close to them. Why did they start giving back? What's their philosophy behind it? When you hear that story, you start to see how they see the world. And when that matches how they treat the people around them, the toxic ones get filtered out pretty fast. So how do you actually get better at all of this? You need to upgrade your software. The hardware, your body, the family you were born into, you can't change that. But the software? You absolutely can. Your values, your habits, the way you think. And where does that software come from? It comes from who you spend your time with. There's a father of mathematics, a father of philosophy, people we learn from. If you want to have real class and dignity, you need to be around people who already have it. Watch them, learn how they think, copy their system. Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs were both adopted. They didn't start with some perfect background, but the software they chose to install in themselves, That's what made them who they were. Your environment isn't everything. It's what software you choose to run. That's what makes you, you. Okay, one last thing before we go. The 4-7-8 breathing method. When you're stressed, when someone rude is right in front of you and your feelings are boiling up, breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Fill your belly up like a balloon. Hold it for 7 seconds. Then breathe out through your mouth, making a sound for 8 seconds. Push every last bit of air out. This calms down your nervous system and cools off the part of your brain that goes into panic mode. And when that happens, the thinking part of your brain gets back in charge. In simple terms, your brain starts thinking clearly again, instead of just reacting. Try it before a big meeting. Try it right before an argument starts. Try it when you're lying awake at night and can't sleep. Just try it. For real. This is just my personal opinion, but here's what I want to leave you with today. Reading people is not some special talent. It's a choice you make every single moment. Will you look at this person's eyes? Will you watch what they do instead of just what they say? Will you pay attention to how they treat the line you draw? And before any of that, you have to become the gray rock first. Don't get swept away by your emotions. Stay consistent. Stay predictable. When you become that kind of person will start showing up around you. And when those people gather around you, your own software gets upgraded too. Toxic people are meant to be filtered out. Good people are built over time. And it all starts with you and me, with all of us.